Hi, I'm Abby Vanderwall, and today I'll be discussing the impact of culture on emergency management, planning, and response. So, first, what is culture? Culture is a complex and dynamic system of beliefs and symbols. It is also the set of shared attitudes, values, goals, and practices that are characterized an institution or an organization. Um, and that's just the overarching umbrella term. Um, it can also be broken down to cultural heritage, which is basically all of that just passed through generations, or cultural identity, which is the intersecting of it between socioeconomic status, race, gender, ethnicity, etc., and how they all play a role in how a culture is developed in a community and how a community responds, especially to disasters and emergency management. As I was saying, culture does play a very big role in emergency management, and it can be through communication, the way a community may perceive things, and definitely implementation of different things before the planning process, preparedness process, and after. So, a very big thing is starting at the local level with local programs for training exercises, education, and disaster training, and making sure it is a culturally competent plan that is tailored to the community and their needs and what resources they will need following a disaster. And tailoring the needs of community to better incorporate the culture helps to increase the trust and better the relationship between governmental agencies and the community, which will later down the line benefit the community and the agencies when times of disaster hit and plans to be implemented because there will be better relationships and trust there. Communication also starts at the local level through public education and preparing the community and making sure that education campaigns, especially when looking at preparedness for emergency management, is tailored to the resources and needs of the community, especially following a disaster or a crisis, and making sure that you are increasing the relationship between community groups, governmental organizations, and private sector and NGOs to make sure that in times of disaster and crisis, those relationships won't be strained and there'll be more communication and better flow, especially in the response to disaster to make sure that the community is being benefited. But when there are worse relationships, it can really impact how a community perceives different things and different implementation plans and responses after a disaster, as it can worsen their ability to react and be less, meaning communication will be less effective overall. Making sure plans are culturally competent are really important, as without it, it can negatively impact those relationships, as I was saying before. So, making sure you can understand the needs of a community, especially on a cultural level between cultural identity and cultural heritage, and including that and being inclusive in plans, whether it's terminology to trainings or exercises, and making sure you're including the diversity related trainings before a disaster to make sure that the entire community is prepared and you're planning to help the entire community and the different resources they need. A case study of this would be the 2016 Louisiana floods. Louisiana has a very diverse and unique culture with a bunch of religious groups, bunch of different ethnic groups, but an overarching theme is a very big distrust of authority amongst these groups. Now, in 2016, there was a low pressure storm system that was like accompanied with cyclones that swept in across Louisiana. Due to the mistrust of authority, the communication of the evacuation message may not have been received as widely as emergency managers may have hoped. But still, over 30,000 people were able to evacuate before the storm, although damage is estimated between 10 to 15 billion, with over 100,000 houses and 100,000 vehicles being damaged. Now, this is a unique case study because you can see the impacts of emergency management with culture. So, following the storms, a bunch of people took to social media to talk about it, and they were able to narrow down different cultural groups on social media and look at the way they interacted and responded to each other. And through that, they were able to pinpoint key stakeholders. And through that communication and pinpointing of key stakeholders, they were able to see different strategies that could be emerged that can help increase um, the way communication strategies are undergone by emergency management for planning and for the response, which can better their ability to help in the future and improve the way they interact, especially with cultural heritage and cultural identity following disasters and storms. And these are my resources. Thank you.